the kitchen by the hour of 3 a.m. We can still pretend we're only little with no need for worry. G.I. Joes and superheroes tie a towel like a cape so we can fly away.
Hello, on the behalf of WRWO 94 FM, 94.5 FM, a project of Here and Again, an Illinois 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to promoting the arts through education. Welcome to the Hay Porter Show. In this show, we're going to be conducting interviews with local performers to cover various aspects of a musician's life, from creativity to personal moments. We hope you find them interesting and they prompt you to visit one of your local venues to support the talents and the venue. Welcome to 94.5 FM. I'm your host, Steve Schote Porter. You've been listening to music from our today's guest, Joey Figiani, and we'd like to welcome Joey to the show today.
Thank you, Steve. Good to meet you in person.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Let's start by hearing a little bit about your personal life, where you grew up, where you live, and maybe where you went to school.
I live in LaSalle. I've lived in a bunch of different towns in this area. I was born in Staten Island, New York, which was like a rural borough of Staten Island, not like the city. So I grew up there in Staten Island. My parents were from the city, so we spent a lot of time there. My great-grandmother and my great-aunt were still living in Manhattan when we were kids. And then I worked in Manhattan as a kid. When I was 10.
10 years old.
I was in the newspapers and the advertisements.
Oh, wow.
With Kmart and Sears and Bradley's.
Sears Roebuck.
Yeah, and Macy's and Alexander's and whatnot. So I did that for 4 years as a kid, and that was all filmed in New York City. But I grew up not really liking the city, wanting to live in a country type environment. So I ended up here. In my early 30s, I was traveling with my cousin, and we got a gig in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then we got some others in other states. So we saw half the country for a few years. He and I traveled together half the country, and then we wound up moving to Nashville. Had that experience, recorded there, not because anybody knew who I was, just because we wanted to, and we just maxed out my credit card, and he was generous and spent some money. Recorded in Memphis in Sun Studio, which I really loved Memphis a lot. And then I was finding work where I could get paid enough just to make somewhat of a living, but I was finding work out of Nashville, just like New York. You know, you're a dime a dozen in New York City. So I was driving to Atlanta and Ohio again and other states, but getting paid somewhat. So then I would just wound up passing through here from Wisconsin, and we were going back to Tennessee. Made a friend. Before we know it, he hired us, Mickey from Massive Burritos. I've told this story many times. But he said, we have a restaurant. Would you want to play in our restaurant? I said, yeah, of course. So I did that a couple of nights, and I was introduced to a lot of people. The guy that was running Starve Rock at the time, Terry Cross, hired me. Mary from Lou Legrados in Peru, they hired me, so they were keeping me busy. So I was wound up driving twice a month from Nashville. I would drive here twice a month, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then go back to Nashville. I made so many good friends here. All the musicians were great and welcoming and let me get up and play with them. And from that, I got plenty of work. And I wound up just moving here because I made so many good friends. And now my girlfriend and I have been together 7 years. And we live together in LaSalle, in her house that her grandparents
that's great.
had and her dad grew up in.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess what made you decide that music was going to be your career?
Like so many people, even though I wasn't of age when the Beatles came out and Elvis came out, my dad was a big music lover. And when I was working as a child model in the 80s, he and I would drive together. And even though I was the youngest of the 5 kids, I was kind of the unknown child, the unexpected child, and I was kind of off in my own world. But my dad and I had a lot of time together, just him and I, because he was driving me. He was a butcher, and I would meet him at the butcher shop, or he would pick me up, and he would drive me into Manhattan because I had to do these photo shoots and a couple of commercials. But him and I alone in the car. He had the 8-track tapes, and he'd play Earth, Wind, and Fire and oldies, which I loved. But when he played Elvis, it seemed to catch my attention.
Oh.
And one thing he always did was, in a lot of those early Elvis songs, there'd always be like a hard stop, we would call it. Like Don't Be Cruel has it, Treat Me Nice, you know, you go, da-dun, 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 but treat me nice. And when that would stop, he would hit me on the knee or grab my knee. And I was like, oh, that's different, you know. And I remember the tape. It was a white tape, and he used to play it quite a bit, 8-track. So for some reason, Elvis, definitely, I identify with him. So I started watching Elvis movies, and I said, I would love to be able to. I was already at like 10, 11, 12, starting to write songs on a Casio keyboard.
Huh?
Probably by 12, I was writing songs on the keyboard. I had played the drums first, which I still do. My sister's a drummer, Teresa Figiani, Poi Damani. There's a name. Teresa Figiani. We grew up going to see her play with big bands, orchestras, and rock bands later. She's married to Joe, my brother-in-law, Poi Damani.
Figiani, Poi Damani.
So, and she goes by Teresa Figiani, Poi Damani, or Teresa Poi Damani. She's a singer too, but anyway, what the heck was I saying, Steve? I started with the keyboard.
Okay.
And then I picked up the guitar when I was 19 because I knew I wanted to sing and play at the same time. At first, it was just to be like Elvis in the movies. Then I found out half the time there was no strings on his guitars in the movies. But anyway, I knew I wanted to be a singer-songwriter by the time I was maybe 12, 13.
So the little boy from Staten Island
Yeah.
falls in love with the guy from down south?
Yeah.
Wow.
From Mississippi.
That's something else.
Tupelo, Mississippi.
Well, I guess, who was your biggest inspiration when you started? I guess that would have been Elvis? Or
Would have been Elvis. A lot of the oldies. Dion. Dion and the Belmonts, and then Dion went solo, but he was from the Bronx, I believe, New York. Bobby Darin, huge influence. Bobby Darin had his lounge singer phase, but he started with his 50s phase where he had Splish Splash, I'm taking a bath.
Taking a bath, yeah.
My dad always would talk to me about these people and say, Bobby Darin's multi-instrument. He would play a lot of instruments, and he's real talented. And then he did the Mac the Knife stuff and Beyond the Sea. Mm-hmm. Bobby Darin, Dion, Elvis, big time influence.
Okay. You remember the first song you ever sang in public?
In public?
Not in your dad's front seat with the 8-track.
No. I don't even think I sang to my dad back then. I was still only like 10, 11 years old. My sister Helen Ann had a boyfriend, Jeff Raffo. He was nice enough when he saw that I was into singing and was strumming some simple chord arrangements. Brought me to his house. I still have the tape. So this is after 8-track. This is the regular tapes. Mm-hmm. And he recorded me in his house. It was the first thing I ever recorded, let alone performed for somebody. And it was the Dion song, Why Must I Be a Teenager in Love? First song ever, and I recorded it, which could be very intimidating for, I might have been 15,
really?
16, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I still have the tape. And that was the first thing I ever recorded and played, I think, for somebody in person.
Now, you write your own songs, too.
Yeah.
Do you have, how do you come up with the ideas for your songs?
If you listen to the first 100 songs, I'd say 2/3 of them probably sound the same. And all of them were probably about a girl that you had a crush on that either you loved or couldn't be with. So that got old. But that wasn't too hard for some reason, because I was probably just recycling a lot of the love ballads and stuff that I had heard growing up, especially in the 80s. I probably started writing a lot in the 80s. It sounded like Bon Jovi meets Rick Springfield, which I respect those guys, but later, as I got older and became aware of what I was doing and was like, oh, I don't want to do that again. The same old story, you know, whining about a relationship gone bad. I would write a lot less because I was more critical. So the inspiration later would come from reading and hearing about how others got inspiration, which Springsteen often got it from movie titles or movies, the stories, or he would get from John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, which I couldn't read because it was too hard, too long and too wordy.
Yeah.
But the whole, the story behind the working class, kind of like a Woody Guthrie guy, and Springsteen based a lot on like the Steinbeck Grapes of Wrath. So then I started thinking of books I read and trying to write from other people's point of view rather than my own, trying to create a character, not too far from myself, but how would it be telling the story from their point of view? It's taken time to do, but I've done it. And then slowly I noticed years would go by, more and more years between coming up with original ideas, because I feel, again, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, because I'm doing what inspired me was listening to other people do, which is basically guitar, bass, drum, or most of the time just a guitar and a vocal. So what am I really emulating? I'm emulating Simon and Garfunkel, you know, or James Taylor, singer-songwriter. So as far as writing songs, and these days, they're few and far between. But when I do get one idea, it'll usually spark two or three, and before you know it.
So this is kind of striking me. You're more of the lyricist first and then put the music to it second, or am I wrong?
Sometimes I'll just write lyrics, but most of the time they don't amount to anything. I've got notebooks and notebooks of words and things written down, and I rarely, if I go back and look at them, I'm like, I don't even remember what this was. So no, I generally write a chord progression, which doesn't mean even writing it,
Okay.
you know. You just know that does G
Right.
work if I go to B minor and then,
Right.
you know, a C and a D? Yeah.
And there's only so many chords.
Yeah. And there's only so many that'll work
Right.
in a progression.
Right.
So if you hit a clunker, you know that ain't going to work. So then I'll get a chord progression and start trying to come up with some words. And then eventually, if all the words come, I write a song. If they don't, I usually scrap it or...
So you got a pile of stuff out there that maybe hasn't gone anywhere yet. Have you ever sat down and just knocked out a song in like hardly no time at all?
A few times, yeah. And you hear famous musicians in interviews talk about that. McCartney did with Yesterday. He claimed that he dreamt it, woke up and wrote it. Not to compare myself to them, but the songwriting process. A couple of times, I don't think I was like in the middle of the room doing something and it hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's ever happened. But sitting with a guitar, and somehow, only a few times it happened, I instantly knew where my hands should go. And I strummed something and instantly heard a melody. And as long as I was aware that I wasn't copying somebody else's melody,
Right.
which happens a lot, then you're like, can't do that.
It's almost impossible.
Almost impossible. So you're like, no, that's a kind of a unique melody. And before you know it, some words would come. It happened a few times.
Okay. You currently have any recordings out there that people can grab on Spotify or YouTube?
Yeah,
Or,
a bunch of them.
yeah.
Generally, people don't know me as an original artist because I, thank God, make a very modest living as a performer doing cover songs, do an original here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But behind the scenes, I'm writing and recording. So if you go on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, I have about 5 albums of original material. The one that we were talking about or going to talk about, called Painted Blue, I wrote within the past year, and it's going to be streaming on all those platforms starting on my birthday, which is April 18th. But for now, I'm selling the hard copy discs at my shows.
April the 18th.
April the 18th.
On the 18th of April, Hardly a Man Is Now Alive remembers that famous day and year of the midnight ride of Paul Revere.
Oh, was it the 18th of April? Really?
Anyway,
I wasn't a big history.
so there you go.
I love history, but I wasn't good at it. 'Cause
Neither
it
was I,
all
but
memorizing.
I remember the poem. So,
I like that.
who was the first person that suggested, besides your dad in the car, that you sing? Anybody said, "Hey, Joey, you got
Not
something
really.
going on"? No, just
No.
decided to do it.
I think definitely my sister's boyfriend at the time was very, very encouraging, Jeff
Okay.
Raffo. He was like, wow, you got a nice voice and you're good. You should do it. Also, a guy named Vinny Bonicelli, another Italian. But a friend of my sister, Teresa, the other musician in the family, and Michael's a musician too, but Vinny and his wife, Linda Bonicelli, they're musicians. Vinny had me over his house to record a little bit too. And this was probably in my early 20s, maybe. Very encouraging too. And we did a couple of gigs actually where, like, at a wedding, they were in the band, Linda on saxophone, Vinny on guitar, and I got up and sang whatever the couple of songs that we had to do for that wedding. Very
So,
encouraging.
a lot of great family support.
Family,
That's where it
definitely
all
family.
started.
Oh, I would also say my brother Michael, absolutely. Because Michael is 2 years older than me. And he started taking guitar lessons and kind of gave it up, like most people do, for a while. When he took a break from it, he still had the guitar, and he and I shared a bedroom for most of our childhood and into our late teens, maybe longer. He was like, you're interested, take my guitar, Mom, at work, do whatever you want. I would practice, learn what I could from what he taught me. Michael, extremely, extremely encouraging. And then we started a band.
Ah.
And he tolerated me being the youngest brother dictating, and I was not real easy to work with back then. I might be slightly easier to work with now because I still mainly work alone. But we had a band. We called it Somebody. And at the beginning, it was me, my brother Michael, our cousin Danny down the block that we grew up with as our kind of a surrogate little brother, was the drummer. And then we had a bass player, another neighbor. Later on, Teresa stepped in as the drummer. She got us a gig or two in New York City, and then we played some shows with Teresa on the drums, and Anthony Gallo, a friend of mine, on bass. We did a bunch of shows, but because of Michael encouraging me and thinking that I was talented and giving me a lot, because I had low self-esteem most of my life, but Michael gave me a lot of confidence in what I was doing.
Musicianship. Besides the fantastic voice and the writing,
Thanks.
what do you have going on instrument-wise? You play a lot of instruments.
I would say jack of all trades, master of maybe the vocals. I think I'm a good singer, but I'm a decent guitar player. It's mainly rhythm that I play with a little enhancement here or there, but I'm not a real lead player. I'd like to be one day. But I'm a drummer first. I still enjoy playing the drums. And I'm a good drummer. I'm definitely a good drummer. On the album, Painted Blue, I played live drums. You know, I overdubbed everything live. I did my own drums, then I did my own bass, guitars, piano. I have an electric keyboard with semi-weighted keys, so it feels kind of like a piano.
Yeah.
I did all the vocals. The only thing was 2 songs. I had my friend Pat Egan, who's a musician in a band now called Rox Populi, or Rox Populi, and they play quite a bit in the area. They're a trio. But Pat is an amazing guitar player. We've worked together off and on over the years. He came over and played on 2 of the tracks. So he's playing lead guitar and some stuff on a song called Are You Alive? And the other song is called Dry Run, about me quitting drinking alcohol. And I wrote a song about that, which was fairly easy to do because it was really from the heart and meaningful. But Pat came over and we heard like a real strong electric guitar solo, and he did an amazing electric guitar and solo on the song called Dry Run, which is on the Painted Blue album.
So right now, are you currently with any other bands, or are you pretty much solo?
I just started dabbling again in working with others, only to offer, first because it's fun, and people respond and like it. You know, they like seeing me with other people because there's so many talented musicians in the South Peru area.
This River Valley is fantastic.
Amazing. And you play
Yeah.
a lot of stringed instruments.
Master of none. Like,
Well, that's okay, as long as you enjoy what you do. But the Ian Weiss is a young friend of mine I've known from when he just started playing the bass, and he's nicknamed the Shark by Brian Newman, I think.
yeah, I've heard that.
Ian.
Yeah, I've heard of the Shark.
Yeah, he's really good now. It's been years since he's been playing, and he's been playing with a band called Three on the Tree, and they play a lot of gigs, mostly out of town in Iowa and a lot of places. So I think they're a trio. Randy Noy on drums a lot of the times, and Pat. I don't know Pat personally, but he's the singer and the guitar player. But Ian plays the big upright bass.
Upright. Yeah.
And he and I have jammed together a few times over the years. I asked him recently to join me at a gig or two where they're okay paying a little extra so he can get paid. And we have a gig coming up very soon. It might even be before this airs.
Yeah.
March 22nd, though.
Okay.
But it'll be the first full gig of he and I as a duo. I may bring my tambourine, so we'll have a little percussion under my foot, and then I play some harmonica, but of course guitar and vocal, all me, and then Ian on the bass, and he'll do some vocal too.
Great. You've played in a lot of places, small venues, big stage. Which do you really prefer, the smaller venue or the big stage?
When you said big stage, I winced a little because I haven't played at really big stages at all. But the biggest I did was thanks to my cousin John Tumanella, who I was traveling with years ago, because he was extremely good at getting somebody on the phone or an email, and before you know it. So he had me playing 2 years in a row, I think it was, Elvis Week. And not as an impersonator. It was the majority of the people that would perform. It was right across the street from Graceland too, on Elvis Presley Boulevard. So this is a highlight for me because they accepted me for who I was. My hair, I look basically like I do now, but I just performed acoustic, a lot of the early Elvis stuff, and sang it. Whereas a lot of the other guys, they came up in the 70s, you know,
Sure, the white suit, yeah.
and they handed a disc to the sound guy, and they were singing to pre-recorded tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I was so glad that they let me just do what I do, which strum my guitar and sing. And I would say there was several hundred people, tops. Could have been 300. Could have been 200. Could have been 600. I don't remember. There's one video, though, where you could see somewhat of that performance on my YouTube. I told you I'm horrible at marketing, and I should do it more, but you mind if I mention that?
Sure.
Okay. If you go on Joey Figiani on YouTube, I'll spell it for you, Figgiani. So all one word, Joey Figiani, or 2 words on YouTube, it'll come up.
Yeah. I was going to ask you later on anyway. So
Okay.
it's fine.
If you look on my YouTube and you scroll, if you click on videos, you'll scroll down. I got about 50 videos. Towards the bottom of the list, because this is going back to about 2005, 2006.
Okay.
I did a song at the Elvis Week called Fame and Fortune. And you'll see it. Some of the live footage is from there. And anyway, it was a good moment. But that was about as big. Your question, though, I like, if I have 10 people, I'm better.
Yeah.
Because what happens is I become myself even more. It's less of an act.
I get it.
It's less of, you know what I mean? It's less of me trying to get the attention, which I'm not really trying anymore, because when you get 50, 60, 100 people in a bar or a restaurant, they're there to have fun and talk, which is fine, because that's what I'm paid to do, is entertain in the background, which is fine. There is always a handful of people, though, that are listening, which is even nicer, but I don't mind if they're not. I'm glad to get paid to be background music. It's fine with me. But when I play 10 people, suddenly it becomes a lot more intimate, and they're listening, and now we start talking even.
Right.
And I'll tell them a story about how I wrote a song, or and they'll say, play an original or play your favorite song. And before you know it, I'm really in the zone because I'm a lot more comfortable.
Storytelling.
With less people.
Storytelling about your storytelling song.
Yeah. Storytelling about your story.
Typical day for Joe when he gets up. You do this for a business, I know, but what do you do when you get up in the morning or afternoon or whatever your schedule is?
You know how many times people ask me, they're like, is this all you do? And I talk to my girlfriend, I'm like, it's kind of a question, it's a little, I wouldn't ask somebody that, you know. And the reason they're asking me, I understand, is because, especially now in 2026, it's even less likely for anybody to be encouraged, I think, to be an artist for a living. Even when I was younger now, in the 70s, you were considered crazy or irresponsible.
What do you really do for a job, right? Yeah, that's what you got back
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Oh, you're an artist. Yeah. Or you're a musician. Well, how do you pay the bills? Because look, if you don't get on the radio and make millions of dollars, you are kind of just doing it on the side, because how are you going to make a living? So for me, I wanted to live in the country anyway, and I wanted space around me and a calmer environment. So thankfully, I hit it off with people here. I had no plans to live in Illinois. I just ended up here, thank God, because look, it's just following your journey. I was encouraged to read Joseph Campbell, who was a mythologist, studied world religions, and he was inspiration behind Star Wars, the writing of Star Wars. Joseph Campbell, a teacher, told me to read The Power of Myth and The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And I learned about one of his famous sayings was, follow your bliss. And the idea, it was a struggle, but the idea of, he would ask the question, what would you do with your time if money wasn't a factor or an issue? Mm-hmm. Because then, let's say you had plenty of money. You probably would say, well, if I had money and no problems worrying about paying bills, this is how I would spend my day. And I struggled that for many years. But to me, I would love to just do my art, which includes painting and drawing, but also a lot of the time playing my guitar and singing, just singing other people's music that I love, that I grew up on, or occasionally my own song. I was lucky enough to find that living in the Midwest, it's still somewhat affordable here. And thankfully, I'm crazy enough to do it with no savings or hardly any savings. Not a big retirement plan, but I'm living truly in the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, it's
No, you're
long-winded.
good.
I'm long-winded.
That's why I'm asking the question.
You know,
this is that people talk about the show. Oh, it's a great show. I go, yeah, but it's because of these people. They come in here with these songs.
I might be talking too much.
No, they're just these stories that are just outstanding, and promoting what you do and people listening to what you do and saying, hey, you know, that gives me a little more motivation.
I love that.
Too.
No, I'm a teacher also by heart.
Okay. Before you get out there, wherever your venue is, anything you do in particular before you go out on stage, or go sit in the chair or whatever?
These days,
yeah.
If I don't stretch my wrists, I get numbness, and I'm trying to avoid carpal tunnel surgery. I've heard good things about it, but I've heard a few bad. But I've learned some stretching exercises, and they've helped tremendously. So
we had the boys from Lovers Canyon on here 2 weeks ago, and it surprised me. I asked this question to them. I said, "Well, one of the things we try and do is to hand exercises before we go out there." So
they said it.
Yeah,
and they're younger.
They're teenagers. Yeah, that's good.
I think that's great, because you know what? Maybe they can avoid. Because I'm doing this 30 plus years, and it's been about 10 years of numbness.
And we've seen it happen. Roy Clark is a good example of that. And
scary though.
Yeah.
But the stretching helps a lot. Or I'll do a little, somebody taught me. There's actually a kid from this area named Mikey Crew. He's a singer, plays guitar. Mikey said to me that he took some vocal lessons, and they taught him to loosen up his face, and it works for me too. So on my way to a gig driving, I'll do this thing where I stretch out my face and get the muscles relaxed, because you're kind of stiff in your face other than your mouth. So I loosen up my face a little, and sometimes if I'm running late in the car, I'll even like reach my hand over and do my my stretches because it'll come and go, the numbness. But this past weekend, I did the stretches right before I started, and no numbness. So thank you for that.
Okay.
YouTube, people on YouTube teaching you these stretches, and my chiropractor helps a lot. Eric Anderson of Marty Chiropractic, him and his wife Rhonda in
Okay.
Boston.
Gig's over. You had a good
You gotta shut me off.
night. And what do you do now? Now that your gig's over, you just gonna go straight home, or how does that work out?
Always straight home. When I was single, I would sometimes stop off and get something to eat, because I'm always hungry when I'm done. I usually don't eat before I play. But now we just got a puppy, and can't wait to get home to the puppy.
That puppy's adorable.
Oh, thank you. And your dog is a bigger dog. What?
Yeah, he's an Aussie Doodle.
Oh, awesome.
So he's about 40 pounds.
Nice dog.
You got the little mini version.
Tiny dog. She weighs 4 pounds ish. She's 3.5 months.
Your proudest moment in your music career?
I think you're still on page 1 because I talk so much. Sorry.
No, we're good. We're good. We'll
Proudest moment?
look at all day.
Okay.
We'll make it in the 3 versions. Chapter 1, 2, and 3.
The long-winded,
and 4 if we
director's
have to.
cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
All right. I could tell you that one is an easy one. And I looked a little bit at these questions. This one I didn't see, but it's an easy one. The Jordanaires that sang behind Elvis in the 50s.
Yeah.
Right. The original Jordanaire, Gordon Stoker, who had a higher voice. If you watch them on Ed Sullivan and you watch Elvis, it's the Jordanaires behind him. Gordon Stoker is there. He was still alive in his late 70s, probably, maybe even his early 80s, when I was traveling with my cousin. We were able to hire the Jordanaires, which a couple of the guys were honorary members, but older gentlemen. But Gordon Stoker, the original, and even Ray, what was Ray's last name? A great guy, loved him and hit it off with him. It'll come to me. They were also worked with Elvis later in his career. Ray did, but Gordon was there from the beginning. We called these guys up, and they were musicians for hire, which is crazy because Elvis should have, could have, but if I was Elvis, it's easy to say, right? I didn't live through his experiences. Should have been some sort of retirement plan for these musicians. His drummer, DJ Fontana, the early band, those guys were there when he cracked, and rock and roll hit big for the mainstream. Those guys should have been, in my opinion, millionaires. But anyway, maybe he was better off because look what happened to Elvis. Died at 42. And the Jordanaires, Gordon was still alive at 80. So anyway, we got them in Nashville. I think they lived in Tennessee. They said, yeah, we'll do it. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. We'll be there. And how many songs? And we were like, we could afford maybe 2-3 songs. Proudest moment because I've never been around, other than my sister, I've never been around other working musicians that I admired like these men, including DJ Fontana, Elvis's first drummer. We hired him. We hired the Jordanaires. They treated me like I was their peer. They worked with me on the songs. We sat on a couch, went over the vocals together. And I remember, and it's very hard to live in the moment, I remember in that moment stopping and catching myself saying, this is an incredible experience that I am lucky to be having at this very moment. Cool. I was like, how did this happen? Thanks to my cousin for making it happen, but that was a moment. And I don't go by pride because pride is tricky.
That's awesome.
Just the most enjoyable, gratifying experience was working with those men. And
Humbling.
Humbling for sure.
Yeah.
And they were nice to even just to share their road stories and experiences of recording. They talked to me like I was on their level, and I really wasn't. I was in my early 30s.
Who's been your biggest supporter throughout your lifetime in your music? Or has there been a couple?
There's a few. My sister's always there because she's the musician of the family first. So we chat about stuff. We record stuff occasionally. Definitely my brother Michael, as I said earlier. Always, always. Even telling me you're an amazing drummer. You should be playing drums more. My girlfriend, who, in my experience with dating and being married briefly and engaged a couple of times, her and I are in a committed relationship. she's the only girl I think that I ever been in a relationship with. Accepts me for who I am, enjoys what I do, and encourages what I do. Huge support.
Advice over the years. Can you pick out one or two things that stick in your mind, advice that somebody's given you?
First thing comes to mind. This guy told me once in Staten Island, on Staten Island, he was the father of a girl that I went to school with at high school. And I just loved this guy. I hit it off with him. He was like a motivational speaker and a fitness guru. He was in tremendous shape, you know, for a man of his age when I was in my late teens, early 20s. This guy, Larry Galante, I still remember. I showed up at his house to see his daughter. We were not really dating, but sort of. I had on an Elvis t-shirt. It was one of these where the face is huge on your shirt. So it was a big image of Elvis. And he asked me, he's like, why, you love Elvis? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm a big Elvis fan, blah, blah, blah. Why are you? And I was like, I like the music. He's charismatic. I love, you know, his movies, blah, blah, blah. And he just said this to me. I think it used to mean more to me when I was younger, but I'll tell you maybe what it means now. He said to me, be careful who you look up to and admire. And at the time, I probably took it as an insult. But when I got older, I felt like what he was saying was, it's okay to admire Elvis's music and the things that he did that inspired you and gave you enjoyment. But I did not want to end up. And Elvis would have died in vain if I would emulate his lifestyle. He got into the pills and all that. And I think we're honoring his memory by not emulating the bad. Not bad, but whatever behavior led to his early demise at 42. I think that's what the guy Larry was warning me about. And I think that was incredible advice. Watch out who you admire and look up to or idolize.
Good for him. Live shows, what's your favorite part about getting out on the stage or in the chair there and having a performance with people?
The favorite thing is many times, because I deal with anxiety, as most of us do, or many, I talk to my friend Pat Egan about it, like, I don't feel like doing this. And he's like, me neither. I got a gig Saturday. I don't even want to do it. I think I'm going to cancel. And then you get there, and I tell you, 9 times out of 10, you wind up having a better gig than some of the other ones that you thought you were ready for.
Yeah.
It's just getting past the first song or the first couple of bars, and I can feel myself. I'll tell you, it's the moment. You're in the moment, and you're not thinking of yesterday. You're not thinking of tomorrow.
Sure.
You're not worrying about anything. And I'm truly in the moment, singing a song and seeing 2 or 3 people either nodding their head or
little lip syncing.
And I'm like, this is why I do it. I enjoy it because they enjoy it, and that's my favorite part.
Anything, 1 or 2 situations where funny or embarrassing things that's happened to you along the way? You got to have 1 or 2, I think.
Oh my God.
That many?
In the experience of being a musician?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'll say this because if anybody's struggling with alcohol, you know, thank God for the people that do show up and have a couple of drinks and get home responsibly. But I was one of the types that couldn't stop drinking. When I got too many, you know, I would have a few, and then you'd have a few more. It would loosen me up. In the beginning, it would loosen me up as a performer, being kind of a shy person, except in this interview where I'm talking so much. But the alcohol would loosen me up, and then it became a problem. It really did. And I've slept on a couple of floors and begged owners more than once to let me sleep here tonight because I can't get up. And I really think I have vertigo like my father did, because I can get dizzy with the turn of a head. And alcohol, worst thing for me. I don't do anything that makes me dizzy anymore. I try not to. I mean,
good for you.
Yeah, so those are not proud moments.
How about a good moment? Coolest thing a fan's ever done for you?
Talking to you, you're not a fan, is a great moment, because I can't stop talking. I keep saying it.
This is easy.
All right.
I love listening to
I
you.
appreciate it. It is easy for me too. The question was favorite.
Coolest thing somebody's ever done for you as a fan.
Oh, I would say not a fanatic fan, but a guy, this really nice guy, Jeff, saw me play, and then I think he hired me to play at his house, his farm, with a bunch of friends, and gave me a $1,200 guitar.
Ah,
Just gave it to me, which I don't even play. Because a lot of the guitars I use out in public are beaters, because you drop them, people spill drinks on them. So I just keep that at home. And
Nice.
I prize it because the guy gave it to me so generous.
sure.
I will mention one other thing. When I was first starting out as a performing musician and setting out to play as a career, this really nice girl, Lisa Bell, a New York City girl, who I met playing at a club in New York City in the West Village. She heard that I was leaving New York to go travel and play music, and she caught wind from me saying I didn't really have a really good quality guitar. She gave me $500 and says, put this towards your next guitar. Never forgot it. In fact, if you look in the thank yous on my new CD, I thanked her all these years later, because I was very generous. I couldn't come up with $500 at the time. And by her giving me $5, I got some money together, and I was able to get a $1,200.
That's sweet. You do requests when you're playing out there, or you have a set list you kind of stick to? What?
I don't do the set list anymore because, number one, people look at a set list. We tried handing out lists. Problem with that is people halfway through the first verse, they yell out the next one they want to hear. So I'm like, nah. I used to then keep set lists written out at my feet, but that becomes a crutch we talked about earlier. Because what happened is, in doing this over the years, I've learned you got to kind of read the room. And if you're locked into playing Take It Easy by the Eagles, the third song, and it looks like it's a more mellow crowd and they just want to relax and talk, I'm not going to play something more aggressive. So to be honest with you, I just read the room. And 90% of the time, I don't draw a blank. It happens. But I like doing requests. I tell people all the time, if I know the song, I'm happy to do it.
How do you stay? We've talked about a couple of these things, but how do you stay connected with your fans, like Facebook, Spotify? You have different avenues for that.
Mostly just Facebook. I used to try to get websites years ago. Nobody could find me because they can't spell my name half the time.
Or pronounce it.
Or pronounce it half the time. So Facebook became kind of a very popular, social networking thing. And I just said, I'm going to just do the Facebook. It's free. And I post my gigs on there at the beginning of the week, usually, where I'm playing that weekend. If it's a special event type of gig, I'll post something in advance. But Facebook, I have my YouTube page. Like I said, you could hear a lot of originals on Spotify, Pandora, and all that. There's also something, that YouTube does. When you buy a barcode and you register an album to be released, so to speak, you pay for these companies to put you on all those digital platforms. Part of the package includes something that YouTube creates, which I didn't find. I just found by accident. I didn't know it was there. They take your name or the name of your act, and they, for some reason, add the word topic. I don't know why that word. So there's another page called Joey Figiani, space, and then the word topic, and you can listen to all my albums on YouTube for free. So there's like 6 albums up there, and coming soon, I think will be the 7th, and it's a lot of original music is on this Joe Figiani. A lot of original music's on YouTube on a separate page with the word topic after the band or the artist's name, and it's just the image of the album cover, so it's not a video, but just the audio playing. So I have a lot of stuff on that topic as well.
I want to remind people, when you're talking about Figiani, Figg is the spelling, and Fiji like Fiji Mountains,
yes,
as I've been told by somebody sitting next to me now.
Fiji Islands?
Yeah. So you want to type in Figgia, okay.
Thank you. Oh, good job. Yeah, I don't mind being called Fig or Figiani, But if you're spelling it in Italian, the double G is soft G, like a G. So
Gotcha.
like a J, actually. CGI, yeah.
Getting toward the end here, is there anything you want to reach out to your fans and say to them right now?
I don't go by the word fan because it's a fanatic, right?
Gotcha.
I'm a little guy. I am lucky to be maybe a slightly medium-sized fish in a small pond, and I love it that way. I'm not correcting you, but you call me whatever you want. But people that enjoy what I do and come out, I am forever grateful, and I thank them in the CD, a lot of them by name, because thank you for coming to see all of us in this area, because I know, if not all, most of the musicians in the area, I love them and respect them all, know what they're dealing with, and it takes guts to get out there and perform. Also, not just because it's a social anxiety thing to do, but because a lot of times, like I said earlier, people discourage you and say, because maybe they're not willing to do it themselves. So anybody, like a young kid particularly, I always try to encourage, because I don't think there's enough encouragement to be an artist or a musician, even though I understand it's hard to make a living, but it's not impossible. If you're grounded and you're not looking to be the next big thing on the radio, because the radio kind of sucks anyway. And I don't aspire to be on the radio. I mean, if I was, thank you, I would be happy, but I'm not going to have some big record company or some bullshit. Sorry, can I curse? Take it out. I don't want some big business people telling me what I need to do, where I need to go, and what I need to perform and all that stuff. So I'm glad.
Okay, I know you just finished up a CD. You want to mention that and maybe some other projects you've got coming up?
I got a lot of projects going on, because when the creativity hits, a lot of times it rains, it pours, and then there's nothing. I'm redoing my favorite album of all time. I'm playing all the instruments. I have my friend Len Vitale from the Crank Daddies. Len also plays with Cheese Pizza. Mm-hmm. Leonard's playing some lead guitar on some of, if not all of the songs. But anyway, the album is called Blue Angel. Cyndi Lauper's first band before she went solo, and I'm a huge Cyndi Lauper fan. So the album from 1980, Blue Angel, my favorite album of all time. It's a retro kind of 50s, 60s sounding album, but it was done in 1980, and I'm halfway through it, and I'm recording the whole album with me singing in lower keys, because I can't sing in Cyndi Lauper's key, nor would I try, but I just think it would be cool. If nobody sees it, nobody hears it, I don't care. I'm loving doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to definitely release it and have it on YouTube. And I'm even going to try to get it to Cyndi Lauper and some of the guys in the band, because...
Same name, the name of the album?
I don't think I'm going to do that. Maybe. Believe it or not, I was able to email the guitar player from the band. His name is... Oh, what is his name? He'll come back to me. He was nice enough to write me back. Arthur Nielsen. Plays with some old blues players and guys. Arthur Nielsen emailed me back a couple of times, and I'm just going to ask him, what do you think? I'm going to put it on YouTube, or I'm not going to steal anything or try to make money from it, unless it's a new piece of art that I could make a few dollars, maybe on streaming. But maybe I'll call it Angel Blue. Maybe I'll call it something else, Angel. But I'm not going to try to become like a ripoff, of it.
Okay.
It's a tribute, but it's all going to be all me and Leonard.
Good.
And Dave Sinai is supposed to play saxophone on it, which I hope he does, because Dave has played with me once before on an album.
I started smiling when you said Cyndi Lauper. Here's some trivia for you. Remember the Pee Wee Herman show?
Of course, yeah.
She sang that intro.
And I'm a huge fan, and I didn't know that.
That was her.
I didn't even know that she sang the theme song to that.
Yeah, she didn't advertise it too much, especially after the trouble that he got into. But,
okay.
Yeah, that was her singing the intro to the Pee Wee. Come on in, pull yourself up a chair.
I went back and listened to it, because I saw the documentary on him recently, and I was like, wow, I didn't know she did that.
If you were not in this music business, what would Joe be doing right now?
Well, I do like to paint.
Which I've seen your stuff. It's outstanding.
Wow, thank you. You too. You paint too. You play guitar too. And your paintings are very cool too. They look like watercolors of the ones you sent me?
Watercolor, chalk.
Yeah. All right.
Whatever's there that day.
So again, I like that. Talk a lot, even though I'm shy in social places. I'm shy. I like small groups. I think I became a singer because it's like put a microphone. You're gonna have to listen to me now, you know. But I did like teaching for a little while. I was a teacher in New York, and I like helping kids anytime. I love animals. Maybe I'd work with animals and kids again, maybe, but not in the city because I was a teacher for like 40 plus kids in a room, and it was really hard. I couldn't talk about, like you said before, hurting cats, and then they don't really get a lot of attention because you're just worrying about keeping safety in the room, let alone teaching something. So maybe I went halfway to get my substitute teacher license because I have my bachelor's with teaching experience. Maybe I'll substitute one day if I find I need the money, which I kind of do. But I think in the Midwest the classes are smaller. I know. I would like working maybe with kids again.
Well, you know, and since we've been sitting here, you're teaching people right now.
I hope.
And we hope there's some younger people listening, and they're learning from that's part of the mission of the station, the radio station too, is to educate people.
Well, I'm glad you brought it back to that, because thank you to you, Steve, and thank you to Katie Tricoli I met her through Chris Farrell. So thank you, Chris, for introducing me to Katie. And anytime we've been asked, we try to all get involved and help with the radio station to promote it, because I know you're not for profit and all the work you guys do, and the musicians show up when we can. And
we have to keep within our budget, which is 0.
Wow. Well, I admire you for that, and Katie as well.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up, and I want to thank Joey Figiani for being with us today, and we're going to close this out today with some more of his music. And I hope you've all enjoyed our interview today as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you on the Hey Porter Show. And tune in again next time for another session. Until then, get out to a venue near you and support your local musicians and your local venues. And remember, music is what feelings sound like. Peace.
Interesting. Music is what feelings sound like.
I stole that from somewhere. People ask me where I got that, and I go,
That's good.
I don't know. I found it someplace.
Don't let your life run dry. Staring at the sidewalk in my bare feet, looking at all the cracks and the cobwebs in between. Then she walks by me, saying something passing through, and I've been wondering why we always seem to paint it blue. Oh, this ain't my house, but my stuff is everywhere. I trace the steps of someone else, but they ain't exactly clear. We can add a coat of paint to make it all seem like new. But I keep wondering why we always seem to paint it blue. Paint it blue like the morning sky. Paint it blue like that look in your eyes. paint it blue like I always do when things are going right. If we had a coat of paint to make it all seem like new, I keep on wondering why we always seem to paint it blue. Now I can't lift no heavy stones or climb the stairs like I did, but I can build a storage shed with all these weather tools. Empty the closet and back and turn it into a room. But I keep wondering why we always seem to paint it blue. Yeah, paint it blue like the morning sky. Paint it blue like that look in your eyes. Paint it blue like I don't